Welcome to the Andy-Social Podcast. My name is Andy Dowling, and thank you so much for tuning in and having a listen to what I've got to say. I won't spend too much time talking, trying to refine this, cut this up a little bit better, so there's less rambling. Speaking of rambling, if you want to listen to me ramble and you get off on hearing my voice, don't tell me. I do a morning podcast called Crazy Talk with Andy. Not very original or creative, but that's what came to my head at the time. Every morning between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m. Sydney time, I upload a half an hour, I'll say, between 30 and 40 minutes. I try to keep it around the 30-minute mark, but it's a 30-minute, basically a brain dump of whatever's on my mind as I drive from the South Coast up to Sydney in the morning. Sometimes there's something that's interesting. Sometimes it's just absolute dribble. But a few people have given me some feedback, and overall people tend to like it. So it's pretty cool. So it's been a bit of a supplement to put all the dribble onto that rather than me dribbling on the Andy-Social Podcast. So I am trying to refine things and make it a little bit more professional. Well, trying to anyway. Moving along. So I'm going to cut straight into it. This is a bit of a different podcast. It features a return guest, Kurt from Kembla. So that's a very cool podcast and you should check that out. Kurt and I go down to Cocoon Floatation in Wollongong. It's run by a lady by the name of Megan, and it's only just opened up right in the middle of Wollongong itself. It used to be a little bit outside of the main drag in Figtree, but about a month ago is at the time of this recording, but let's say late December, the new site opened up and it's got 4 float rooms. It's a really cool setup. I was actually quite impressed. I've been watching the progress that Megan's been putting up on the Cocoon Floatation Instagram page and on Facebook, and I just noticed that they're also on Twitter as well, which is cool. So I've sort of been watching the progress move along and seeing it all come together, and it was really cool today to go down there and not only just see it in the flesh, but actually go on a float. So for those that have been, I guess, playing along with the whole Andy-Social Podcast thing, whatever I call it, that's a really bad delivery. You'll know that from a previous episode, I have gone on one float previously when I was on our honeymoon in Barcelona, and that was really cool. It was a great introduction to flotation, and I honestly, I was saying this to Kurt today, I've really taken the backwards approach to flotation. I've spent the last couple of years listening to other people rave on about it. I've been almost like an advocate for floating. I've suggested it to so many people, and I even gave my dad 3 float sessions for his 60th birthday, and this is all before I even jumped into a tank myself. So it was a really odd approach. Well, I didn't do it deliberately. It was just the way that things happen. I just never got around to doing it myself, and it was only when I was in Spain that I was looking for a few things to do, and one morning I just got on my phone and thought, float tanks, I wonder if there's a flotation place around, and luckily there was. So Jess and I went there, we both did our first float, which was pretty cool. It was a good experience. So I think you can listen to it in one of the previous episodes, I don't know, 50-something, 57, 58, I got no idea. Anyway, and I give a bit of perspective as to my experiences there. So I went into today with a little bit more, I guess, knowledge. I had a bit more of an expectation. I understood a bit more of the concept from my previous personal experience, and it was really cool. So what we did, and this is what makes it a little bit different this week, is that we did 2 podcast episodes. So we did a pre-float and a post-float. I put up my hand to do the pre-float, which is this episode is shorter in comparison to my other episodes on the Andy-Social Podcast. It's about half an hour long, but it's cool. It's just a little bit of a, a bit of a catch-up, shoot the shit a bit, and talk about flotation and just, I don't know, I can't even remember what we talked about now. It's a bit of everything, but we also talk about what we want out of it as well. Something for me that I mentioned right at the end of this episode is that I'm really looking for gratitude, something that I've really tried to embrace a lot more over the last, I don't know, however long, months or year or so, or something like that. not only just trying to live in the moment, but try and reflect. And it's really hard to appreciate, at least for me, I'm always thinking of what the next thing is. And as a result, sometimes I take a lot of things that I have in my life for granted, and I'm getting better, but it's a hard thing. It's an ongoing battle. And when I was driving there this morning, I was thinking about what I wanted out of this, and this came to my head, and I thought, oh, that's a great idea. And when I spoke to Megan before we went in for the float, she had heard us talking and said, oh, it's good that you've got an intention. But she raised a really good point. Don't hold on to it, in the sense that don't get overly stressed in the mental in a way that you're trying desperately to find that spot where gratitude is. So like you go in there with an intention, and then just let it go. See what happens, but at least you've got something in the back of your mind. And I thought that was pretty cool advice, because the whole point of these sensory deprivation tanks is really exactly what that is. You're losing all sensory around you. You're floating in water that's very similar to your body temperature. So after a while, you don't even feel where the water line is against your body. It's Epsom salt, so it's really high concentrated salt. So you're literally floating. You're in a cocoon, a tank, and it's pitch black. And for this one, you're in complete silence. Compared to where I was in Barcelona, he had some light music that was playing all the way through it, or for the majority of it, which I think he may have done by mistake. But anyway, this is really cool. It was a really good experience. So what we've done is, this is the pre-float. Spent about half an hour having a chat, bit of a catch-up, talking about a whole bunch of different things. And then the post-float is over at Kembla. So if you're keen to find out how we went, what we've taken away from it, and compare experiences and whatnot, please go over to Kembla and download the episode. I don't even know what number it'll be, but it'll be online now. So, or at least in the next week, so you can have a listen to that. Check it out and support Kurt and his podcast. It's a great way for both of us to, just do a little bit of cross promotion as well. It's a lot of fun, and it's great to catch up. And Kurt's one of those guys where you can go in. I actually mentioned this to him today. For most of the guests that I talk to, I write a few notes down, just so if things sort of die off and whatnot, I've got something to back me up. But with Kurt, I didn't have anything. We just literally just shot the shit, and the conversation's always pretty good. So much for rambling. There we go. Okay, as I said, Post Float is with Kembla, so go and check that out. Kembla's on iTunes, Stitcher, and I don't know the URL off the top of my head. Actually, while I've got you here, why don't I just quickly look it up on my laptop, says the guy who doesn't want to ramble anymore. Podkembla.com. So just go to podkembla.com, podkembla.com, or you can search for Kembla on iTunes or Stitcher. And he's also on Facebook and Instagram and all that sort of stuff as well. Anyway, enough of that. Pre-float with me, post-float with Kembla. Enjoy. We'll just start talking.
All right.
It's weird not hearing my own voice through the headphones.
Yeah, look, it makes it more candid, doesn't it? I do the joke about playing radio. This is even more so. So I can't even hear myself. So I'm like, it's like talking into an old school phone that's not attached to anything, and it's telling of people that are going insane.
Or now it's like the old mobile phones that are no longer useful, and they usually get given to the kids, and they start going, "Oh, hello, yes, yeah." No,
the Nokia 5110.
Yeah, the classic.
Have you heard they're bringing Snake back?
No.
Yeah, that's just to add to the nostalgia that our generation craves.
That's right. Yeah, we crave it until we actually do it, and then we get over it within 5 minutes, and then look for the other thing that was amazing back in the day, but actually isn't in reality. It's like, I want the old brick to come back. Like, to be honest, if I can't access social media on my phone, that would probably be a godsend. And battery life's amazing. Mm-hmm. Can still call and text.
Yep.
And I'm limited to the amount of characters I can put in my text because it tells you. Whereas now, especially if you've got iMessage, if you've got an iPhone, there's almost an unlimited amount of text that you can do. But it used to say, you're coming up to, I don't know how many characters, say 140, and it'd be like, now it's 2 texts or 3 texts, and you're like, oh man, this is going to cost like, this is 50 cents so far, or this is 75 cents. I'm writing an essay here. I've got to scale some of this back. So then that's when you start writing like an idiot and going, oh, see you tomorrow and all this sort of stuff.
These kids, man, they don't know how lucky they've got it. Really.
Yeah, that's right. We had it tough. I mean, we had to walk through the snow for kilometres and kilometres. Yeah, that's right. With our Nokia bricks. Anyway, so here we are.
Yeah. At the new and improved Cocoon.
We're ready to float.
Well, we've got T-minus about 33 minutes.
Okay,
so
all right.
We're sitting in the lovely foyer of Cocoon. I'm Kurt, by the way.
Oh, I'm Andy.
I'm back.
Oh, there you go. I think this is going to be on my podcast. So everyone's going to be like, oh, duh.
And I've done it again. Like, I've just sort of taken over. I'm a megalomaniac with talking.
That's why you're so good at it, because you make everyone feel so comfortable straight away.
Oh, well, I'm glad.
There you go. You're leading the charge.
That's all right. We're stroking each other's egos as we speak, sitting here on a Sunday morning. It's beautiful. But yeah, Megan's done a really good job. I've been up at the fig tree one, the previous location. And yeah, this is smack bang in the middle of the city where I'm copping the air conditioning, and there's like these palmy kind of ferns blowing.
You're between 2 ferns.
Yeah. So I'm getting my Zach Galifianakis on.
It's I didn't know about this place or like the business until you'd done your episode.
Yeah.
So your episode worked.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did say to Megan, I'm like, I don't have a big listenership. I don't know if it'll translate into people coming. Well, it's taken 10 months, but it's finally happened.
We've got one person. Yeah. But I've been interested in coming here for so long, and it was only just I've had so many attempts at trying to go and have a float somewhere, and for whatever reason, just usually out of procrastination and laziness, I just haven't done it. But I was on our honeymoon last year, and I was in Barcelona. I was just on my phone, just looking up things to do that morning for the day. And I don't know where it came from. And suddenly I thought, oh, float. Yeah, I wonder if there's any float places in Barcelona. And then I'm looking it up on Google Maps, and then there was one like a kilometre away. So straight away, went on their website, translated it from Spanish to English, and I'm like, oh God, how does this all work? And then finally booked in a session. I did the session for both of us, and luckily the guy that was running it was South African guy. So I didn't have to worry about the language barrier. And it was
You
cool.
just had to worry about the weird accent that they've got.
Yeah. That's right. And it was cool. Like it was I've been raving on about it, I've been talking about it. I've had people on the podcast that have floated. I listened to enough podcasts that talk about floating. I even bought my dad vouchers to go and float in Brisbane for his 60th birthday party before I'd even done a float myself. So here I am, an advocate for floating, and I've never even done it myself. It was just the most backwards way of approaching it.
Has he used it?
Yeah, he used all 3, yeah.
And he liked it? He enjoyed it?
Yeah. And he's like a guy that's had hip surgery, and he's got creaks and whatnot over the years, and he just said, like, the first session was very much like, I can feel every ache in my body, and this is almost borderline uncomfortable because I don't know how to relax. I don't know how to shut down. And it was literally like the last 5 minutes or 5 or 10 minutes of the float that he suddenly went, oh, this is what it's meant to be. And so the second and third session was obviously a big improvement. But my dad's like, he's so, I'm just trying to think of the word. He's just like, he's not someone that's like totally psyched on things, and he's just like, yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah. He's just so modest about everything, and so he's like, yeah, it was good. And so I'm like, did you like see another dimension? Did you feel anything you never felt before? And he's like, oh, I don't know, but yeah, I felt good getting out of it, I guess. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I'd probably go back again sometime. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. I was waiting for like this epiphany of wonder, you know.
Yeah. I think you get, before I come for the first time, I was getting this sort of expectation that it was going to be this kind of supernatural experience. And I'm sure a lot of people like take that from it. But, you know, like we were talking about in the car park before, like you sort of, when you've got a mind that's just going, doing a million different things, none of them productive, but doing a million different things at once, it is hard to, just slow down and focus on the one thing. And I was thinking about this morning before, like I've come out, and like I was just, writing my thoughts down, and I was talking about how the whole, like, there's the supernatural expectation element of it. And I sort of had a little bit of an epiphany where it's just like you're basically just shutting yourself off from the rest of the world. So the definition of the word is sensory deprivation. You're not taking anything in. Like, there's certain things I like to do to relax. Like, I'll go and sit up in the vegetable garden and have a coffee and a cigarette. Like, sometimes some of those things aren't the most beneficial things for your health, but I take a little bit of it at this point in time. But you're not cut out from everything around you. You're not, like, if you've got your phone on you, you're quick to pick that up and start scrolling through. Even though you've got this view, or you're looking at plants or something like that, you're easily distracted. Whereas this is a thing where you're given license to just shut yourself off from everything.
You're forced to. You're forced in a very gentle way. You're forced to. There's nothing you can do, and you can try all you want to think of a million different things, but after a while, it's just your mind's got nothing to latch onto. So you eventually just start to slow down.
Yeah,
it's cool. I mean, as you said, like using that example of being in the garden or whatever, and sort of being in nature to a degree, and then you might have your cigarette and your coffee, and even though like smoking's not the healthiest thing, it's still, that can actually be a positive tool in the way that it's sort of like a drink or something like that. It gives you focus. You're focusing on that thing.
I look at it as meditating, but it's kind of bad for you at the same time.
Bad meditation. But the thing with the phone, like, I mean, I found myself, especially because I'm driving up and down the coast every day, and I'm looking out the car window, or I stop in Gerringong or Jurora or Kiama or whatever, and I'm looking out in the ocean, especially on a nice day, and the ocean's so blue, it looks amazing, and then in the first thing in my head, I'm like, oh man, I've got to put a post on Facebook. I've got to find a sick photo to put on Instagram or something like that, and get some tags going or whatever. And then I'm always like just borderline slapping myself across the face, going, you idiot, just hit the phone in the car, go and sit out the front on the side of the bench or whatever, and just zone out for a bit.
It's hard to do though. Yeah. It is. It's hard, and there is that urge to. I don't know. It's not even like a thing where you're bragging or anything like that. But the culture has evolved to a point where you want to be sharing. The everything, like everything. You can go on the one side and go for the whole inspiring angle, or like I've got a family member that's she's had a few like issues, and she's in and out of hospital, and she does a lot of posting about like the being in hospital kind of thing. Yeah. Not something I do, but for her, I guess she finds a bit of value in doing that. There we go with like minimalist lingo. But yeah, it is a thing where, like, I suppose you can't really sit in the hospital and enjoy the moment for what it is. But it's that feeling of sharing something with other people, but it's almost like what we were talking about earlier about, writing out stuff, or for me, like when I'm driving and doing my rambling in the mornings or whatever, it's just thought dumping. It's just getting stuff out there. And for some people, there's that added bonus of putting something out there where someone else is going to read it. And I think we all have got varying levels of ego where we want to be, we want acknowledgement from other people, and we want to get attention or recognition or whatever it might be. Some people don't feed off it too much, and other people really feed off it. Yeah.
And, I think you're the same as me, probably to a lesser extent. I think I've ramped it up a bit, but I think we want to share things with people. That's why we do our podcasts.
Yeah.
We could just have conversations with people and just be satisfied with that. But we've got that extra thing there that sort of probably drives us more than the conversation at times, where we just want to get a podcast done. We want to get it out there. We want other people. We want that thing where people can see that we're doing something, and they can listen to it, and we're sharing that with people.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a bigger driver than actually sitting down and talking to someone and having a conversation.
It is weird like that. I was thinking about it before you got here, and I was standing here. I was just like, because you'd suggested, we go for a float, and then I don't know if I'd suggested, or we'd both come to the conclusion of like, maybe we'll do a podcast, and I'm like, maybe I should have just said let's go for a float, like, and not do the whole podcast thing too. It's just like, because not that I didn't want to do it or anything like that, but it's just like it's a lot of expectation to put on somebody else to be like, let's go and do something for our mental health, but let's document it at the same time. So it's but I reckon it's cool. We've got the blessing of Megan too, so that's fine.
Helps.
I did want to ask you though, when you, like, since you've been doing your morning show kind of thing, I don't know if you, like, before you go to record like a podcast of,
Yep.
you know, like your straight normal podcast, has that alleviated any kind of anxiety about what you may talk about when you're going to record like your like antisocial podcast, when you're getting up in the morning and going, all right, this is what's on my mind, and you've done it pretty friggin' consistently for a while now.
Yep.
Has that helped you in a way of like when you're going to record a podcast, you're a little bit more focused?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think part of the reason why, I mean, there's a whole range of reasons why I do the morning thing, but one of them was I found, especially coming back from overseas, and I went through this like sort of, well, in my mind, it was a crisis. To anybody else in the world, it was just nothing. But, I hadn't done a podcast in a couple of months, and I'd been umming and ahhing, and I had so many missed opportunities. I mean, I was in the US, and then I was in Spain and then Czech, and I'd been traveling around. I'd been with my now wife, and I'd been with the band, and all these great experiences, and I didn't record anything. And I thought about it at times, and then I disregarded it. I'd lost the juice. And so when I came back, like I used the whole, like I did 2 episodes where I just rambled on for in total like 3 hours.
I listened to
and
it.
yeah, and some people actually liked it, but I sort of thought, man, it's just such an, like for me, it was such an easy way out. In hindsight, I'm glad I did it, but I did find, looking back at some of the other episodes I'd done these episodes where I'd done this brain dump of ideas, and it was not really thought out and just was all over the place.
Yeah.
And I don't think people cared, but I cared enough that it was sort of when I'd start doing my intros for the guest podcast that I had, that I was all over the place because I felt like I had a million things to say but nothing to say at all.
Yeah.
And so I found myself, and I still do it, it's almost become a tick where before the episode starts, I'm like, all right, enough of my rambling, or I've been rambling for too long, or whatever it is. And I'm always sort of giving myself that disclaimer. And I've just recorded like about 4 that I haven't put out yet. And I've really made an effort to reduce those intros a bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm not just waffling off in the clouds about God knows what. And I've been able to use all that rubbish that's in my head and dump it into this morning thing. Yeah. So it has worked in a way. I mean, it's not perfect, but the funny thing is it started off as something to occupy time, because I'm just so much what a lot of other people would perceive as dead time in the car. And it was to create something else, but it's given me so much more value.
Hashtag ask the minimalist.
Yeah. Oh man, that's become such a buzzword for me. I just, oh God.
They comfort me. But yes, I'll more on that later. But they comfort me.
I'll go off on a tangent right now. They're pissing me off at the moment because they are releasing many episodes.
Yeah.
They're doing like 2 a week, and ever since I came back from overseas, I was originally a month behind all my regular podcasts. So instead of just skipping them all and going to whatever's current, no, I had to go back and I had to listen to make sure I caught up. Just this OCD part of me.
Oh, it's the same as comic book collectors. They want to go back and find it all.
And then I got to like a 2-week gap, and I've been on a 2-week one, and these minimalist episodes keep coming out and just pushing me back and back and back. I'm like, oh, come on, guys, just like go back to 1 a week.
Yeah.
But it's been good. But
it's funny because only 6 months ago they were doing that whole hiatus thing, and I
think that lasted like a month or a month and a half or something, and then suddenly the podcast are back. Because when I listened, you introduced me to that hiatus episode, that last one where letting go or moving away or whatever it was called, and I went, oh, okay, there's no new episodes. Oh, that's cool. There's only like 30 or whatever it was. I'll go back and listen to them. And literally within the first 3 episodes of going back, they'd start up again. I was like, so now I'm catching up on the old ones and trying to listen to the new ones. And I was like, that's me. I mean, I could have just skipped a whole bunch.
Well, look, I'm sort of, I'm all in with those blokes at the moment because I downloaded their audiobook Essential months ago, and it was an older version of it.
Yeah.
And it was only 3 hours long.
Yeah.
The newer versions that they're releasing of their books, they're all narrated by this same guy called Justin Malik, who is connected to them somehow, and I think he has his own podcast. But he's just got a really calming voice. Mm-hmm. The other guy, the English guy, wasn't too bad, but he also had this kind of pompous air about him. Like, I don't know if it's just the whole Australian view of English people, that's my own prejudices coming out, but that I sort of had that in the back of my mind. And then also the newer version is 5 hours long.
Yeah.
And, like I've mentioned to you, like in my job, I'm sort of just, I can listen to shit all day because I'm working by myself essentially. No, see what I did there? Essentially. No, I didn't even see it. So I've returned the old version of the audio book, and I've downloaded the new one. So when there isn't a new Minimalist episode, because there's only a few podcasts that I keep up to date with every week, and they're comedy stuff that's not really wellness or anything like that. But yeah, those guys, like I've listened to all their episodes, or essentially mostly all of them.
Yeah.
But then I've listened to that audiobook like 3 or 4 times as well, because I just chuck it on and it kind of is meditative. And because they repeat themselves quite a bit, it's like you're talking yourself into their
I think that's
philosophy.
what it is, and that's probably why. I mean, it's probably how brainwashing works. We're probably both brainwashed by the minimalists, to be honest, because every episode, because most of their format is answering questions, and people tend to ask the same sort of questions, and they do sort of have their episodes in topics, but more or less it's the same fundamentals underneath, and they always go back to corporate life and blah blah, and then all the stories, all the stories that just keep repeating. But after a while, it sort of sinks in enough where you go, oh, maybe I should do something, or maybe I should like follow through with that instead of it just being an idea several weeks ago. It's been drilled into me enough that I'm finally doing something. So maybe that's it's a benefit. It probably is a very dangerous thing if you're listening to something that's not good for you, but
well, they're both guys that worked in like sales and marketing, so they understand how, I don't know, that whole psychology works too. And it's funny, like you talk about the whole being brainwashed by them, or just they're the idols that we're seemingly worshipping at this point, in time. I just respond really well to branding, and those guys are branding experts. Like the way they've kind of engulfed all these kind of different little ideas that are basically all common sense, but it's all black and white on their website, and they've got their text is just this plain bold text with a couple of the letters that are replaced by people which I don't really know what that means, but it looks cool. And the covers of their books are very simplistic too. Like it's just the two of them on the front looking fairly happy with themselves. So you're like, hey, I want to be satisfied with myself, like how as well as these guys.
It kind of leads into, I guess, what's popular at the moment as well. Like you've got that sort of a lot of shops and cafes have got that simplistic, minimal, rustic, industrial vibes to them, and everything's back to basics, and a lot of people gravitate towards that. So they probably really sort of, whether they've consciously done it or not, they've really tapped into that sort of way of thinking that's quite popular at the moment. So, but I said it the other day when I was doing one of my brain dumps. It was like, I don't know whether it's a case that it's become a bit of a trend and more people are thinking this way, or whether because I'm so into it, I'm just noticing it more. I use that really horrible analogy of when you buy a car in a really crazy colour and you've never seen any other cars on the road like it, but suddenly because you're aware of your car in that colour, you suddenly see every other car out on the road and you realise it's not that unique after all.
It's not a crazy analogy.
Maybe I just articulated that a bit better then than I did.
No. I thought it was good when I heard it. I've got 2 examples that from my own life that are very much like that. Like last Christmas, I bought a pair of salmon shorts, and I thought they're the greatest things ever. Like, I was like, this is amazing. I was over at my uncle's place, or my grandmother and uncle's place, and we were having a few drinks for Boxing Day, and I just kept going on about these shorts. And 12 months later, my uncles ended up going like, oh, those are pretty good shorts. But I was like, when I bought them, I'm like, oh, these, I don't see this color around anywhere. This is, like I'm original. I'm so original. But then I'd be out somewhere and every bloke, especially every bloke walking around a shopping center with his wife, were wearing salmon shorts. And I'm like, oh, I'm one of these guys now. I'm the hapless husband being dragged around a shopping center in my salmon shorts and my loafers.
And they probably were. You weren't a trendsetter. It was probably the case that they were always there, but you just happened to see them on your own accord. Bought them, and now you suddenly opened your eyes and you can see everyone around you that's wearing them. Yeah.
So there's that, and then frangipanis.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
I've been walking like for the last couple of weeks, and there's a bunch of alleyways in Port Kembla that you walk up, and I like to do that because I do pick up the dog feces, but sometimes if it's a place that's not very well seen, I'll just let that go. I don't know if I'm admitting to a crime
You're
right
exposed.
now. But I'm walking up these alleyways, and there's this house that has a backyard with a really big frangipani tree, and when it's been raining, but it's like a nice morning, you can really smell them when you walk past. I'm like, oh yeah, they're really good. But then every second house in Port Kembla has frangipanis, it seems, because I see them all the time.
Which ones
now.
are they? Are they the ones with the long stem?
They're like whitish flowers with yellow bits in them. Remember that people used to go around on the back of their cars and they have the stickers of them. They're those flowers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. They kind of go hand in hand with sort of oceanside living and the sound of the ocean and all of that.
Do you find that you give a shit more about flowers now that you're in you've got a partner and you sort of settle down a little bit? Like you start to think about things that I don't know how to explain it, but just seem a little bit more domesticated. Like,
yeah, throw pillows on the bed. Yeah. I never gave a shit about that before, but they really they do really well.
Every house or couch has got throw pillows or European
on the couch too.
Yeah.
The couches just seem to look a lot nicer and more inviting.
I hate them. Like they serve no purpose for me because I have to throw them off the couch, and Jess gets really pissed off. She's like, "Why don't you put it behind your back? It'd be so much more comfortable." I'm like, no, it wouldn't, because I'd be then hanging off the edge of the couch. But I look around my house now and I notice all the flowers, and I get psyched when I see one that's about to blossom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh wow, look at this, and I'm like taking a photo and I'm putting that on Instagram. I'm like, what's happened to me? Like I used to be this booze hound that used to just play in a metal band and just be an idiot. And here I am like getting so psyched about flowers. And I'm like, oh, Jess, do you know how many different flowers we've got? I don't know what they are, but there's like a bunch of pink ones out the front, and then there's these purple ones that change from purple to white and then they die. And then there's these other ones out the back, these big ones, and there's those ones, and then we've got this massive rose bush or whatever. I didn't even know roses could grow that tall. It's almost like a tree. And Jess is like, okay, awesome. And I constantly find things now that I would have been so ashamed of myself years and years ago that I would be like, oh, that's something my parents would be into. And now I'm finding it's just the way of life. Like the circle of life.
It's the cold chisel syndrome. You know, like when you're a kid, you don't like. There's some kids that are right into cold chisel and unashamedly throughout their teenage years. I remember being horrified at my Year 10 formal when there was this big K-Sun sing along. I was just like, oh god, this is the epitome of dapto, right? This is fucking disgusting. But you get older and. Yeah, like at the party last night, so, there was a Cold Chisel song played, and it was rather enjoyable, and Lenny enjoyed it too. So you know, the next generation isn't as uptight about his music taste.
Oh, but man, I found myself listening to a Jimmy Barnes song and going, "Oh man, like these lyrics, like I relate to them. Oh, this is incredible. This is the working class man." Or Driving Wheels, like. I'm a road dog. I'm on the road all the time. I'm driving the tour van, or I'm driving like hours and hours each day. And oh man, life's tough. And I daydream, and I think about when my heart's been broken in the past and forgotten memories and all this. And I'm like, oh man, like it's speaking to me. It's amazing. And suddenly, like, I'm the same. Like, growing up, anyone who listened to Cold Chisel or Barnes were like, Bogans. Yeah. Like, I can't believe I'm so sophisticated. I have such more sophisticated listening, like Metallica, like, you know. And then I guess I've become more attentive to things around me. But it's just, it's ridiculous. Like, going back to gardening, I got so psyched yesterday because I got a couple of guys to rock up. This is going back to my mower fiasco.
Yes.
I gave up.
Yeah.
And I went, you know what, stuff this. And I called some guy up and said, look, can you guys come around, just fix the hedges and mow the lawn? And he's like, yeah. I said, like, next week sometime. And he's like, are you home today? I'm like, yeah, I am. He goes, I can be there in an hour. Oh, yes, please. So they came, did it. I paid, in my mind, through the neck. But then if you think about how much people charge per hour, it was all right. But afterwards, I walked outside and I got my camera out and took photos of the lawn and the hedges. I didn't send them to anyone, but I just took them and went, this is nice. This is nice.
Yeah, well, there's something you can look at during the day. I do that with my veggie garden. I've got photos of them that I like just pull up in my phone and look at because it is a satisfying feeling, whether it's done by somebody else or you do it yourself. Once it's done, you just feel good because it feels more livable. But I live in between retirees. Like I've got retirees on both sides, so trying to keep up with that standard is exhausting. But
you feel guilty. You feel guilty if your grass is overgrown. Like for me, I'm in a sort of it's not busy compared to Sydney, but it's busy for the area. So there's a lot of foot traffic, and either side of me always has their grass mown all the time. So my place looks like the animals moved in here. And so I'm always paranoid. And every time I get home, I go, oh, our house, oh, it's disgusting. So there's this pressure that I've put on myself to make sure that I keep up with the Joneses in a way to make sure that my place looks as nice
It's
everyone
real.
else.
The pressure's real. Yeah.
But it's kind of cool. Like, I guess, I don't know, it's just like, maybe it's just growing up, I guess. But
Oh yeah, well you taking responsibility. Like I said, like either making the decision to get it sorted out by paying for it done, and I've considered that numerous times. The only reason I don't is that Louise bought me a mower for Father's Day, my first Father's Day. So there's kind of this obligation that I've got to use it now because it's and it's a really good mower.
I'm quite envious that you've got a really good mower, to be honest. And that's
it does
another
a great
example of
job.
me just not understanding what the hell I'm doing.
Oh, it compared to the one that I was using like beforehand, which would just conk out.
Yeah.
It's a godsend. But when it comes down to it, it's just some kind of bit of machinery anyway. So
That's it. Well, we've only got a little bit of time before we start anyway.
yeah. Oh shit,
All
we've
right.
got about 5 minutes.
Yeah. So,
what are you expecting to get, Andy?
oh, you read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to ask you. For me, I was thinking about this driving down. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, but I want to find gratitude.
Oh yeah.
So I listened to something yesterday. This writer was talking about an exercise that you can do where you do a journal entry writing about your day, but in 10 years' time. And basically you go over the top. You utopian idea or dreams and you think big. So just the most ridiculous things, success, money, whatever it might be. And you write your day out of what that day looks like. And so I did it last night after a few beers. I'm like, now I've got this and this and this. And so driving here today, I thought, that's funny because if I think now to 10 years ago and all I've done and band stuff and this podcast, getting married, buying a house and all this amazing things. And if I think about what I would have thought 10 years ago about what I'm doing now, I'd be absolutely amazed. But I never stop and think about it. So I thought, maybe that's something I need to do. Maybe I need to sort of sit back and just be happy with what I've done so far, because I never do. I'm always thinking about the next thing.
Gratitude is key, and it's something I struggle with on a daily basis. But yeah, I reckon that's cool. What I'm hoping to get is to remember to go to the toilet beforehand, so I'm not thinking about needing to piss for the last half an hour.
Good call.
Because that was my first time experience, and yeah, you're so relaxed. You're like, oh, do you think I could just? I want to know, would they? But
when you're a kid in a public swimming pool or in the ocean, it's like, yep, all right. Done.
Yeah, so I'm going to make sure I, as my old boss at the liquor department used to say, drain the lizard before I go in. So.
Sounds good. Well, I think I'll put a little intro to explain what this is all about, but we'll do a post-float chat.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on your podcast. So anyone that's listening to this now, stop.
Yeah.
Well, after we finish talking anyway.
Yeah.
And go to Pod Kembla and you can listen to the post-float episode, and hopefully we'll have some amazing epiphanies or things.
I'm expecting to find out all the secrets of the world, or I'll find out that I'm an octosexual or something like that. So we'll see.
We'll leave that for the post analysis for you to explain what that actually is.
Well, I've got an hour to think about what that is now.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, let's do it.
Sweet.
Thanks, everyone. If you're interested in the post-float episode, please go over to Pod Kembla. You can find Pod Kembla on iTunes, Stitcher, or you can go to podkembla.com, which is PODKEMBLA. And make sure you listen to our post-float catch-up. We were a little bit spaced out, and it's some cool notes being shared and some interesting conversation. It was a lot of fun today, and we had such a good time. And massive thank you to Megan from Cocoon Floatation for having us. I would highly recommend giving flotation a go. No matter where you are in the world, most places now have some sort of flotation center relatively nearby most people in major cities. If you are in the Sydney area or on the South Coast, definitely go and check out Cocoon Floatation. If you want to look her up online, Megan online, it's cocoonfloatation.com.au. And Megan's also on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything. So I'll have all the links in the show notes so you can check it out. If you do go, please let Megan know that you heard about us through either the Antisocial podcast or Pod Kembla. I'm sure she'll be very happy to hear that. And I'll certainly be going back there quite often. I've been looking online through her website some really cool discounts to go monthly, or if you really want to get serious, you can go twice a month or 4 times a month if you're pretty hardcore. Don't know if I've got the money to do that, but that would be pretty cool if I could get away with doing that. I probably wouldn't have the time either. Check out Pod Kembla for the post-float episode, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. And thank you so much for listening to this. Finally, before I wrap things up, quick bit of housekeeping. So, I know you guys, just shut up, Andy, shut up. Okay, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, iTunes, Stitcher, etc., wherever you can find me, I'll be there. Does that make sense? Either way, search for Andy Dowling or the Andy Social Podcast. Best way to support this podcast, in all honesty, is listening to it as you guys are doing. So thank you so much. But also to just like or leave a reaction. You know, he can get the angry face or the smiley face or the sad face or whatever. I don't care. Just pick whatever you want, or the love heart as well. Do that on all the different social media platforms. If you want to be really generous, you can share it around or tag someone in the comments or leave a comment, just something, I don't know, just a single thought or a one-word response or anything. Like if there's a criticism or something, give me criticism. I need it, but only if it's constructive, please. But anything just to give it a bit of activity, and it's good because these social media platforms all work on activity, and it rewards the people that are getting a lot of response from people. So the more that you guys are liking things and commenting and sharing, the more it'll show up on people's feeds, which will give the podcast more exposure, and then in turn, hopefully get more listeners, which will then help me get more guests on the podcast and make this bigger and better for all of you guys. So it's this cycle that keeps on giving, this circle of life. So that's it. So I'm going to keep it really short and sweet. andysocial.net. You can find all the show notes, links to everything. Reach out to all the people that have been on the podcast. Thank them and let them know what you think of those episodes that they've been a part of, and just thank you so much. We'll be back next week. I have no idea what's coming next week. These podcasts are just coming in thick and fast, but enjoy and thank you. Bye-bye. You're ready.